a very warm welcome to the latest 4Innovation Leadership Talk. Today, I had a fascinating conversation with Professor Dr. Michael Colombo on transforming enterprises with the appropriate deployment of AI. Michael already applied methods in his research in experimental high-energy physics in the early 1990s that are now known as AI, big data, and prescriptive analytics. After many years in leadership roles in the IT services industry, he now advises board members and managing directors on how companies can use AI as a new form of automation to enrich products and services and truly improve business processes. His mission is to empower small and medium-sized enterprises, in particular to use AI productively. Enjoy this episode. Good morning.
Good morning. It's
Michael.
Great. Yeah, thanks for having me.
No, I'm really excited. Thank you very much for this opportunity to have a conversation with you on the topic of integration, implementation of AI for enterprises. Yeah, I think I guess we both agree it's a very important topic. And today we will have this conversation to see what are the challenges, what are the problems, what are the opportunities for enterprises. And I think people can benefit a lot from your expertise as a consultant for so many enterprises already. Yeah? So you have a lot of experience. And today I think the main purpose of this podcast is to make people benefit from your experience concerning this topic. And I would like to start maybe with one of the main issues. I could imagine that when you engage with enterprises, that at the beginning you already have to address some misconceptions concerning the implementation of AI in enterprises and maybe also the opportunities. Could you shed some light on this topic?
I think, yes. I think if you're entering any kind of enterprise, of course, everyone knows that AI is important and will be important for the future. So that's a given. That's probably also why they talk to me in the first place. Now, the misconception is in many companies or enterprises that AI is being thought to be equal to what we call generative AI, large language models, yeah, and probably the GPTs and Geminis of this world. Yeah, this is one aspect of it. Yeah, so then the second aspect is that even if you are looking then into these kinds of AIs, people think that the specific knowledge of their company, yeah, what they are representing, it can't be or cannot be in this generalized AI models. Yeah, and I had recently a very interesting discussion with the head of Microsoft Azure GPT services, and she said the first reaction of their clients is, oh, we need to fine-tune GPT to be on purpose for our company. Yeah? And then she says, we are trying to restrict this a little bit because A, it's very expensive, and B, it doesn't help. Yeah, and then there are probably other models that probably can help. But this is sort of say the main misconception that AI equals the language models. And of course, as we all know, AI has a long tradition, is far more than language models. Yeah, and especially if you're looking here in the German environment where we have a lot of B2B, where we have a lot of Industry 4.0, of course, we have very different applications of AI in our manufacturing and our engineering services.
So does this mean that when you work with enterprises, you are not advising them to use a large language model like ChatGPT, but more the vertical models? Or is it that different enterprises have different needs. You adjust them, and sometimes the large language model is the best one. Sometimes it's a mixture of large language models and vertical models. Maybe it's only vertical models. I mean, what is
I think,
what is the situation?
like you say, it's it depends on the application or the use case. Yeah, and of course, I would say AI in general, it can be applied in any industry and in every in any business function that you have or that you are seeing in a corporation. Now, if you are in the administration area, then of course you will need things like language models, yeah, because you have a lot of unstructured text from your clients, from your suppliers. Yeah, you have probably also some kind of documents that you have collected over time. Yeah, all of these can, of course, well be dealt with the large language models and understanding what has been written there. But there are, of course, completely other use cases. Yeah, think of autonomously driving cars. Of course, yeah, you also want to say, hey, BMW, or hey, Mercedes, but most of all, it's important that the car captures the scenes around you and knows when to hit the brake. Yeah, so these are different AI models. And in the third application, you are going into a manufacturing enterprise and you want or manufacturing setup, and you want to steer your production lines. Again, yeah, you neither need, or in many cases, you don't need language, you don't need vision in the first place. You need to deal with the sensor data that's produced by your manufacturing lines, and this, of course, also needs different ways of AI. Yeah, in that sense, probably also one of the misconceptions is that there is one AI. No, there are many, many small, more or less contained AI applications that you are distributing across your entire operations.
Now, let's assume I'm an entrepreneur, yeah, and maybe I'm even in the board of management, and you give me some advice. I mean, if this is our first meeting, yeah, I approached you, I said, here, Michael, can you help me? I would like to implement AI. I have no clue what this means, what it can help me, whatever, yeah, but can you please give me some advice? How would you proceed? I mean, what is your approach working with such an enterprise and maybe with such a person from the management?
Yes, a good question. I would ask you to take a step back. Forget AI and let's talk about automation. Yeah, we have done automation forever. Yeah, especially in in high cost countries like Germany, we are very well equipped with all kinds of automation mechanisms. Yeah, a long time. It culminated in Industry 4.0. It goes back far further. Now, um, the difference between the automation we have done historically and the automation we try to attempt with AI is the way we are producing the software that does the automation. Yep. Traditionally in software or in the automation, we programmed everything. So we had to think about the logic, yeah, and then give some rules, implement them in the machines. And these rules were able to do intelligent things already before AI. Yeah? Now, AI is essentially I mean, it also produces software, yeah, and the way the software is being produced is differently. Yeah, we don't need to define the rules ourselves, but we try to learn the rules from the historical data that we have seen. Now, this is, on the one hand side, requiring different tools, and it requires, of course, also data. But on the other hand, it also says all the rest, yeah, at the end of the day, we are doing what we used to call an IT-enabled transformation. Yeah, so once we have identified the right use cases and we have produced the so-called AI model, then it's like it was previously. So that takes us to the question then, where do we want to automate, or where do we want to automate further? Yeah, and then I think you have your CEO already with you, because then he feels, or he or she feels secure, because they have always thought about automation. Now, what are the best use cases then? The use cases that are at the core of the business or operating model, those are the ones that we would look at. Yeah, and in many cases, we see that the traditional programming was not able to capture all the specifics of a certain operating setup or a business setup, and therefore we struggled to automate. So these are the use cases I would start with. So what's at the core of your business, and where did you struggle in the past to automate it because the rules are too difficult? Then the CEO would ask me, why would that work? Yeah, and then I said, okay, think back. Image recognition, something everyone knows, that you can hold an image in front of a camera and say, is this a cat or a dog? Yeah, and the rules we would have to define to tell a cat from a dog are very complicated. And it's the same thing with your business. Yeah, certain environments are like a cat and dogs. Yeah, so they are very hard to describe. But with the help of data and the history that you have in your data sets, we can aim at trying to find those rules with different means, and that is, I think, the core of looking for business cases.
And what is the general situation? Are you first talking to people who are more on the operational level, or right with the board of management, or what is the usual process, yeah, in the context of your consultation work?
It depends. It depends, of course. As I said, I think all board members have understood that AI is important for the future of their business, and there are many attempts, also or many connections coming from the board level. Yeah, and they probably also know my history. Yeah, I have a long history of IT-enabled transformation, starting with things we done in the mid-90s with Bain and Company, or then in the 2000s with Accenture, where I was a managing director. Yeah, so many people know that I have transformation experience, and they happen to know that I've also doing AI since my university time. So it's even longer back. Now, so they approached me, and I think the first important message is, since, as we discussed before, as we are trying to improve the core of the business or operating model with AI, of course, it's a board member topic. Yeah, you can't do that from the bottom up. Yeah, and sometimes there are people approaching me like head of transformation program or something in this matter. Yeah, and I always say, okay, let's prepare something, but let's also be clear that the final decision to do AI in a transformation program always needs to come from top. Yeah, any kind of transformation needs to come from the top, and I think that's a very important rule. Yeah, you can try to fertilize the grounds from the bottom. Yeah, you can try to build project team or program team. Yeah, but at the end of the day, the final decision has to come from the top and needs to be heavily supported. Yeah, because I think we can discuss this later a little bit, but technology is not so easy. Yeah, so you will need some money, you will need people. Yeah, you will also encounter some problems with the data. Yeah, so there are many challenges to implement this. Yeah, why you need this is why you need some stamina, which only can come from the top. Yeah, because they need to understand that AI only helps if you pursue it like we did automation in the last time. in the past.
I mean, I guess the people who want to, or the management who wants to implement AI in their enterprises, I mean, their main struggle is not so much to make a decision. Yes, we implement now AI, but to do it right, to do it in an optimal way for the company. And what are the main aspects which you see to do it in an optimal way? I mean, what I mean, for instance, is topics like do I need to employ new people, yeah, who have the expertise on AI? Yeah, how do I really adjust AI to the needs of my company? What do I have to do so that it fits perfectly? Yeah, because I could imagine it's not that every enterprise needs the same AI. They all need, and you touched upon this issue already, they need something which is tailor-made for them, or the right tools concerning AI. I mean, what are the main topics there, or maybe the three main topics which you see, so that an enterprise can rest assured that they deploy the AI in an optimal way for their company?
Let me first of all comment on one thing. Of course, there are a lot of standard AI applications out there. Yeah, like software as a service. There's also AI as a service. Yeah, you don't need to train your own image recognition or your own language model. These applications are there, and they are simply integrated in the current IT landscape as before. So this is part of our normal IT work, yeah, and it doesn't require any further capabilities, I would say. Yeah. On the other hand, that also means you can start tomorrow. Yeah, working with GPTs or with image recognition or what have you is very easy. You can implement it in your websites, and that works. Now, when I'm talking about AI implementation now, I would say we are starting from data, try to learn the logic. Yeah, what I said before, that helps us to automate. And here, of course, you have three things that need to come together. First of all, you need to have the right use cases or the applications that we discussed before. Second is we need the data that may come from your internal transaction systems, that may come from sensors that you may probably also buy from the outside. And the third thing is you need the capabilities, the technology capabilities. And technology capabilities means both systems and people. Yeah, on the system side, we know that the kinds of analytics applications that we had used in the past, like business intelligence and data warehouses, relational databases, they may help in the beginning, but at the end, we need something like big data platforms, and we need something like data science to develop these machine learning models. So all of these three components, use case, data, and capabilities, need to come together. Now, the first reaction is, oh my God, yeah, we don't have the data, we don't have technology, and probably we also don't know where to start. Now, this is the wrong approach. Yeah, I would say, okay, we have some use cases that are probably simple. Yeah, we have some data and we have some technology. Let's start with this. Yeah, and try to see what we can get relatively quickly. Yeah, the business case of these simple applications may not be outrageous, but on the other hand, you get a first feeling how it's like working with data and technology to produce these smart technology or smart software. Now, and as you are starting to work with these initial use cases, you are thinking about the next wave. Yeah, and while you are implementing the first wave, reaping also some benefits, hopefully, and some experience, certainly, yeah, you see how you can fine-tune your ambitions regarding use case, regarding data collection, and regarding capabilities. Yeah, and this way you implement it in a sequence of waves. Yeah, and while you are generating first benefits, yeah, you are preparing for the next wave. And as a consultant, I would say, yeah, this is kind of self-financing, yeah, which is of course not entirely true. Yeah, you need to put some fund also from the side. Yeah, but it's self-financing probably in the way that many people in the organization also see that these kinds of things are working. And that, on the other hand, then accelerates the ambition of across the organization to look for useful AI or automation use cases. And then, of course, if many people are working there or trying to achieve this, yeah, we are having more interest in investing in additional data and additional capabilities because that is shared across the organization. And I think that is I don't know hopefully I would create some kind of avalanche, yeah, that helps us to bring these AI-enabled capabilities in all kinds of the organization. And then it's more or less normal as the way of programmed automation that we had in the past.
I mean, in the past, I think when you were a programmer in a company, when you programmed well, you programmed new services or products, and the company was growing, I think also your responsibilities were growing. Yeah? But with AI, I wonder if this is still the case. Yeah? Because AI, you're implementing a self-evolving system, yeah, which becomes better and better, more intelligent, which can take certain tasks from you. So is there not the danger that people say, oh, I don't want to have this AI because it makes me in the long term obsolete? Is this
Yes,
a
I
true
think
concern, or would you say, no, don't worry, you will be needed even more in the future?
I had an interesting discussion. We had a photograph yesterday here in our house doing some images for the website of my wife, and he was having this discussion. He said, "Look, I'm a photographer since 20 years, but do I need to find a new job because, as we also read, Adobe is going down the drains more or less because nobody is photoshopping anything anymore. Yeah, you're asking Midjourney or whatever these programs that generate your images. Yeah, and I think what that means is that first of all, I don't think that we are making people redundant. Yeah, so especially here in Germany, I think that people of my generation, yeah, they are leaving the companies over the next 10 years. That will create an enormous drain of knowledge and capacity. Yeah, so I think if I'm talking to my boys, yeah, I think they are in a completely different situation than I was. Yeah, we were always too many. Yeah, too many in university, too many applying for jobs, too many on the fighting in companies for a career. I think that will change. So I think this kind of fear you can take away. Yeah, so we always need people. Yeah, we will also see that the full automation is not possible. It's not what you are expecting. That everything is going on itself. Yeah, that's probably what some of the people who want to make themselves famous by telling good stories. Yeah, I don't think that there will be something as a general artificial intelligence anywhere soon. Yeah, so the main challenge will be, yeah, that we control all of these different AI services that we have tailored for our own businesses, and this needs to be controlled. Yeah, and to some extent, technology may help you here, but in other areas, you will always, I think, at least it's always difficult to say how long, yeah, but I say for at least 10 years, yeah, more likely even longer, you will need human judgment to tell whether the kind of automation you are having is really working or not. So in that sense, what I would say is, of course, some of the things that people are doing today in the companies on all levels, yeah, be it creative, not creative, administrative, also like manufacturing or so, yeah, some of these activities will go away, will be taken by the machine. Like it started at the start of the industrialization. Yeah, the difference is that it's very seldom that you are taking away the entire job or the entire set of tasks associated to a role. Yeah, more likely you are taking away, I don't know, a certain percentage, and then you fill it up with other things, or you reorganize. Yeah. The fear that you are losing your job, I think, is somehow restricted. But of course, the fear that you need to deal with things that you haven't dealt with before is really is real. Yeah. So, like we always experience that transformation creates fear in people because they don't know, am I fit for the job? Will I be able to learn it? Yeah, that is nothing new. It probably gets a new dimension with AI, but not really. Yeah, and in that sense, yeah, there is fear in the organization, and we need to take people by their hands, yeah, and in that sense, help them to understand what is working and what is not working. Concrete example. Yeah, assume you would. We had a case in a cheese manufacturing company. Yeah, so it's a company that produces all the cheese for the burgers of a certain company with yeah, across Europe. Yeah, so it's a real it's an industrialized cheese manufacturing. Yes, so we introduced a system that helps them to move the cheese from some mixing device to an oven where the cheese is being heated up. And we try to predict whether the cheese will get stuck in the pipes, yeah, and therefore create some business interruption in the manufacturing process, which is, of course, expensive, and nobody wants this. Now we talked to the experts that are running these facilities, and they were a little bit vague. They said, yes, we have it. I want to say in our guts. Yeah, we see how this is working, but we can't tell how. Yeah, and then and also, by the way, they said, and also we don't trust any kind of machine to be able to have this kind of feeling that the cheese will get stuck in the pipe, yeah, and therefore we don't trust it. Now, what we said is, okay, let's try it out. We make a system that tries to predict, yeah, and then we present you the ideas. Yeah, nothing will be automated. Yeah, we will present you the ideas, yeah, and recommendation. Yeah. Whether you need to change something in the mixing procedure, yeah, to get to reduce the risk of the cheese being stuck, and then we go on. Final decision is with you, no question. Okay, they said that's fine, yeah, and then they saw that. I put this from a positive side. Yeah, in many instances, the recommendation of the machine that we did, or that we had trained, was not so far away from their own recommendations. And they said, "This is the thing the machine says. I think that's okay." And they said, "Okay," and then it was done. Sometimes they said, "No, this is something different. We changed something." Yeah, so the recommendation of the machine is not entirely right, but we can you can as a human supervisor, I can adjust, and then it will be right, and then we see what happens. Now, two things with this process, or three things with this. People feel in control. Yeah, and I think that's the most important thing, that people still think they are controlled. They are not controlled by some anonymous technology. No, they are in control.
But one
Second thing
question,
is, if sorry,
they feel that they are in control or they are in control?
they are
Because
in
you said
control. No,
it's
actually, they
important.
are in control
Okay,
because they were able to overrule the machine.
okay.
But in a in a second step, they said, "Okay, we are actually we are not." And the people are smart, yeah. So they thought, actually, we are not overruling the machine anymore. Yeah, the machine has essentially the right recommendations. Yeah, so let it go. So at some point, they said. And that's typically the final stage. Yeah, they said, okay, let the recommendations, let the machine make the recommendations. It's silly that I always hit okay because I wouldn't know any other thing to do. Now, in between, there is this phase where from time to time, the human operators overrule the machine recommendation. And this has two aspects. One is we are learning, and that comes back to what you said, the self-optimizing machine. We are learning where probably our original algorithms that we trained were not optimal yet. Yeah, and there may be valid interventions from humans that help us improve our model. Yeah, that's one thing. So, and there is a transition phase where we actually need the humans. Second is what people also will understand, self-induced logic, that even if they overrule, still sometimes things go wrong. Yeah, so machine recommends something, a human operator overrules, cheese got stuck in the pipe. Yeah, now this also makes people sometimes a little bit more humble about their own capabilities. And I think that's also fair that they are not thinking all of their own decisions are always perfect and right. Yeah. And then also here, if they are realizing that they are making errors themselves, they are far more willing to accept errors that are being done by the machine. Yeah, and I think that is some kind of a some kind of collaboration process. Yeah, but where we make sure that, like we said in the beginning, people are in control and and also realize that they are in control. Yeah, and we call this human in the middle approach, which is in the middle from, say, fully or traditional systems to AI and systems. Yeah, where you say there is a period where the human in the middle is required. Yeah, and then of course, as we are having the human in the middle, it's also, I think, the picture that nothing gets automated. That without super control of people who know what's happening there.
Mm. But if I understand you correctly, yeah, I mean, in your example, there was a kind of working together between a human and the AI, yeah, and you spoke a lot about control. Now, what I could imagine is that for many companies, one of the most critical issues is actually to decide how much of our business do we give to AI, yeah, and how much do we still have to control on our own? Yeah, because the more responsibility I give to AI, the more I can also have the risk that if something goes major wrong with the AI, yeah, for certain reasons, the more damage can be done. So is there also an issue to somehow control the risks in the context of the implementation of AI in an enterprise?
This is a tough question because at the end of the day, it assumes that and that is natural. It assumes that at the end of the day, the humans are smarter than the machine, yeah, which I think is right. Yeah, but we are also talking about and I'm coming back to what we discussed in the very beginning, we are talking about automation. Yeah. Also in the past, we automated certain things. We didn't use AI. Yeah. And sometimes we saw if it then goes wrong, it really goes wrong. Yeah. If you have a manufacturing line and you see that some adjustment is not working and you're producing a lot of not okay parts, yeah, that you need to sort out. Yeah, and nobody talks about this. Yeah, this is of course you will have charges which are not appropriate to give to the client. So this is also not something new. What probably is new is that it may reach new areas of our business operations, yeah, because we are entering with AI in new parts of the organization where traditionally we haven't done that much AI. Yes, of course, they need to get accustomed to that, and of course they need risk management systems to stay in control, yeah, to make sure that this really works, yeah, and that is also going back to what I said in this wave type approach. Yeah, you're starting with simple things that are relatively easy to control, and then as you are getting more and more accustomed to how it works and what works better and what was probably not as well, you are fine tuning also your path to an AI automated operating model or business model, whatever. Yeah, and what I found interesting is that some time back, the head of Alibaba said, every operational decision that we are taking in the future shall be done by an AI system. Why? We are growing so fast that everywhere where we have humans to take decisions, bottlenecks are being created, or very likely. Yeah, I think that's a very interesting. I mean, very few of the companies we are dealing with here in Europe are growing that quickly. But I found this a very interesting approach. And again,
And
I
that
think
means
it's
you were speaking about Jack Ma, is it correct?
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
but does this what he said? I find very, very interesting. Yeah, because at the end, does this not mean that enterprises, even when they see now the risks, I mean, there are always risks in life, yeah, and I'm sure with the implementation of AI, there's also a risk, but that Jack Ma says, and maybe you agree, actually enterprises to survive in the future have to go into these risks, have to implement AI, even if some things can still also go wrong. Yeah, I mean, is it that they are forced to do it? Yeah, because that's what I understand a bit from Jack Ma. Yeah, because he says actually when you rely too much on humans, you will be out of business because AI at the end is more reliable than a human person.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's more. I don't want to make this comparison. Yeah, but this is a discussion I think that ties back to the automation discussion, be it AI or not AI. Yeah, I think we will have to automate one way or the other for different reasons. Yeah, we talked about lack of capacity. Probably also speed of scaling our business. Yeah, so there are different reasons why automation may make sense. Yeah, and automation has risks. Yeah, but we also know the saying that if you are not moving forward, essentially you are going backwards. Yeah, so our competitors will do it anyway. Yeah, so in that sense, to keep let's say on the same level with our competition, be it in different different organizations or also different geographies. I don't want to make this box open. Yeah, but there will be always competition, and someone will do it. I think the benefit that we had here and I think it's a different innovation approach that we are pursuing here in Europe as compared probably to the US and China. I don't know so well, yeah, but I think that we are doing innovation in a rather controlled way. This does not mean that we are not innovating, but we are not talking so much about it. And we are taking typically an approach which is associated with less risk. While in the US you may have people who are very well accepting high risk for the high returns. I think here in Europe we are a little bit more conservative. Yeah, we are also taking risks, smaller risks, and then a more controlled return. Yeah, and I think that's a general question that ties to the culture of a company. Yeah? And you ask, how would I discuss these topics with the CEO? Yeah, I think that's a question of risk appetite. Yeah, how quickly do you want to move? And if you move quicker, of course, typically the risks associated to this will be higher, not only from an operational side, but also risk in the sense that you're investing your money in the wrong places. Yeah, so you're losing money. It's not always that you are producing to a poor quality or some stuff that you cannot sell. Yeah, risks appear at different parts of the organization, in the financial sector, in the production, yeah, and in the people. And I think an overall balanced risk portfolio also includes dealing with AI-enabled automation.
Mm. I think now we spoke a lot about implementation of AI in enterprises, but there's one issue I would like also to have your opinion on, and that is, I mean, there is AI implementation and there is AI provision. Yeah. That means like companies like ChatGPT, Gemini as a model, etc., etc. And there, now I think we all always read Europe is far behind, China and US is in the lead. Do you have an opinion on this topic? Is it that in Europe we are really far behind, or do we also have some companies who are strong in the context of providing AI?
This is also a difficult question because it requires to look deeper into the companies. Yeah, I think what is clear is that both in the US and in China, funds are not so much of an issue. Yeah, so they are really pumping a lot of money into these things. I think this is less obvious for all the things that we are doing in Europe. Yeah, but on the other hand, if you're talking, for example, about language models, there are a lot of activities going on here in Europe that, especially regarding large language models, that may open a new way. Yeah. So one way, well, also for you, especially for European companies. Yeah, one way is pursued by in Switzerland, where there is an attempt to make the entire training and software of a large language model open source. Yeah, so make it transparent. We don't know what kind of data is being used to the GPTs or Geminis of this world. Yeah, we strongly suspect that there are also things that shouldn't be in there. Yeah, talk about intellectual property of other companies. We don't know. Yeah, so the attempt of the Swiss is probably much more open and say we want to make sure that we make transparent which data goes in, how we train, and then also have people or give people the ability to assess to what extent they perceive this to be viable for their own purpose. That's one thing. I would think neither US nor Chinese companies or organizations would do that. Yeah, so that's something that is unique to us, and I see a certain benefit in this. Second thing is what we are seeing here in the large language models, that these language models work very well with English language. Yeah, we also see that there is there are more difficulties to deal with languages like specifically German and French. Now, there's this European model Claude, yeah, and Claude in various situations has been seen to perform much better with non-English languages from the European area. Now, where does that come from? I think it comes from the fact that the language scientists, the language researchers, yeah, these not IT people in the first place, or not necessarily data scientists, the language scientists here in Europe are far more accustomed to the differences of languages, and probably, and this is the point, it's not about making German or French or better German or French language models. It makes sense to build models that better convey the intent. Yeah, I'm not a language scientist by no means. Yeah, but I know that language can be very subtle. Yeah, and if I'm reading an English book that has been translated to German, or if I'm reading a French or an Italian book that has been translated to German, yeah, I see, and I compare it to the original, I see that is even for the prose of translation, it's very, very difficult to catch the essence of what has been written. Now, and that is, I think, also something where I think the European researchers, yeah, the European companies can add value to the implementation of these large language models. The second thing, yeah? And we know probably also that professional translators, they prefer the DeepL from Cologne. Yeah, they prefer to Google Translate. Yeah, and not because it's German, because it works better for their purposes. So I think that somehow supports my point. Third thing is, I talked about the large funds that are pumped into this. Yeah, and I think that we in Europe have a certain role with limited funds. We all know, or limited resources, we are getting more and more creative. And I think that's also something that gets lost somehow. Yeah, and I think we saw the first effect when the Chinese started with DeepSeek to build large language models that were at least as capable, but much, much smaller. Yeah, and I think that's also something that we need to consider. Yeah, these language models that we are currently hosting there in the US, yeah, they are large. And it has all kinds of disadvantages. Yeah, starting from the large energy consumptions to the fact that you cannot host your model, or a small model yourself. Where, for example, in a situation where you need to be for some reason autonomous, yeah, where you have no permanent internet connection. All these scenarios exist, and I think these are the areas where we can produce also results. Will we become as big as the OpenAIs and Googles of this world? I don't think so. But that doesn't mean, or the companies that are using this, will they have the same market power as this? No, I don't think so. But there will be a room, and I think, and there probably I'm a little bit arrogant here. I think here in Europe we have a far more robust education system to produce capable people at scale who are able to distribute and develop in the company's value propositions, yeah, that are probably different from what the Chinese and the US people do, yeah, but they are valid, and they will have they will play a role, yeah. And now, is that something that is so to say inevitable? No, I don't think so. Yeah, we need to, of course, feel the pressure also from the competition. Yeah, but Also, historically, I think we have always been pretty good as a European region to counter these threats. And we are living in a global world, and globalization is going backwards. There's a different story, but I think we need to take up the competition, but it's not too late. Especially, we can count on the good people we have in here, at scale. At scale, that's the point.
And how do you see the current political framework on AI? Yeah, there's the AI Act. There's legislation on the European level concerning privacy and data protection. There's the issue of cybersecurity. I mean, do you think we have a suitable and appropriate legal framework? Yeah, because I could imagine that your work with companies also includes the aspect of meeting the existing regulations. Yeah, is this something where you see it? Do you see it more as a blocking point, or do you see it more as something which pushes the issue? How do you see the political framework?
Well, I mean, we are talking here about AI, not so much about politics, I would say. The framework, I think, if we are talking AI Act, yeah, many companies were crying, oh, we are constrained as companies, we cannot do this. Now, if you are really looking in the AI Act, yeah, then it's about the so-called high-risk AI applications that require now intensive documentation of how they have been produced, yeah, in terms of data and algorithms. And why is that? Because these high-risk applications of AI are those where we as humans are concerned by the decisions that an AI is getting. Yeah? Do we get a certain, for example, do we get a credit? Are we accepted by an insurance company? And yes, at which tariff, given our own health? Do we get access to higher education? These kinds of decisions that affect you as a person, as an individual, they are safeguarded, so to say. Yeah, so there is an interest of the regulator to make sure that as little bad as possible happens to people. Yeah, and that is going back to our constituency. Yes, Article 1 of our Grundgesetz, our constitution here in Germany, and that's at the base of it. Yeah, so this is nothing that is implemented by. So it's a logical consequence of what we feel is very important to us as a society here. Now, these are the high-risk applications. Now, think of all the other applications of AI. Yeah, so everything I'm doing in the manufacturing or in the production system, there is no thing that ever would be required to be looked at by the AI Act. Yeah, there are many. A chatbot that is talking to me on the about my I don't know, my banking accounts or so. Yeah, this is also is a low risk AI application according to the AI Act. Yeah, so there are a lot of fields where companies today with any kind of impact of the AI Act can do their work. Yeah, and therefore sometimes I think that this discussion on or we are limited by a regulation like the AI Act is sometimes meant to be as an excuse to not start working. And I think that's wrong. Of course, regulation is somehow, I don't know, I don't want to, especially I don't want to say hindering us. Yeah, it requires probably more efforts. Yeah, in the beginning of the 19th century, yeah, we invented the TÜV here in Germany, which is a supervisory organization that was invented because boilers exploded and people were harmed. Yeah, and since then we are having these organizations. We have got used to it that now not so much boilers anymore, but cars are being reviewed every 2 or 3 years by this association, and that we are getting a safety stamp on this. Yeah, and I think that's a very similar thing. Yeah, and I could argue, I don't know whether that's correct. Yeah, it would be probably a little bit far-reaching, but I could also say that the quality of the German cars is especially so good because we are taking these safety concerns very seriously. Yeah, and I think the same is true also for AI.
I mean, do you have? I think it's always good if you have something like success stories, yeah. And do you have one or two or three success stories, yeah, which you could share with us without giving too much away, which maybe you're not allowed to do, yeah. But do you have something like success stories to illustrate the opportunities of AI for enterprises? I mean, is there something? I mean, I could imagine, yeah, when you work with an enterprise, they implement AI, they do the steps which you described, yeah, that they first they focus on a core area where they implement it, then they go to the next area. I mean, can you somehow illustrate the success the companies had with implementing AI, and maybe also give us an indication what are the KPIs? Yeah, what is really changing in the company?
That is, of course, again, a difficult question because we have so many different fields of AI. I think one thing that we need to distinguish is companies that are living on AI themselves. So where AI is the core of their business. So to say the German open AI. Yeah, there are companies like Aleph Alpha or there DeepL in Germany that are successful, I would say, but they are probably not as global as the OpenAIs, Googles, and so forth. Yeah, so probably a little bit with a smaller scope, but so we are probably not at the level where we are creating global monopolies. Yeah, so I think that's we don't have nothing like this in Europe, I would say. Yeah, but there are certainly companies like the two I mentioned that are making a good living from selling AI. Yeah, there's also a small company that a friend of mine has founded. Yeah, it's doing sales predictions for supermarkets. Yeah, for entire retail chains. For like 10,000s of products in hundreds of shops every night. Yeah, and this company is being hired, yeah, by large retail chains. Yeah, the ones that you know when you go out of. So there are these companies that are able also to live from AI as a business, I would say. Now, I think in the real opportunity comes when we are looking at AI in a sense that I mentioned in the beginning, where we see it as a different form of automation. Automation in the sense of our own production processes, or enhanced automation or functionalities of the products we are selling. Yeah, and of course, also we are seeing here a lot, yeah, from the large OEMs, automotive OEMs, yeah, where a lot of AI is being implemented, yeah, not only in the infotainment systems, but across the entire the entire car, yeah, and yeah, there's always this question, yeah, Tesla was quicker than the Europeans, but probably the systems that we are building are probably a little bit more robust, my opinion. Yeah, that we may have different opinions on this. So this is the large manufacturers. But I think where we are seeing also a lot of improvements of the products is by the mid-sized companies, which are an important sector in the specifically in the German market here, yeah, where a lot of products and processes are being enhanced. Yeah, I talked about cheese production. Yeah, but I could also talk about a large manufacturer of bottling machines. Yeah, and this where we have helped steer a machine to blow up these PET bottles, yeah, which have very different forms. And again, regulation is, or taxes are requiring that the plastic material is becoming thinner and thinner. Yeah, and here this machine has been using, or is using, an AI steering that helps to heat the raw material, the raw plastic bottles, in a way that the material doesn't become too thin, despite different shapes of these bottles. Yeah, and on the other hand, we can save on plastic more. Yeah, so I think these are the successes of the companies that are somehow hidden. Yeah, they are not they are not going out to Drink Tech here in Munich and saying, "Oh yeah, we have an AI-enabled machinery." No, they say, "We are able to have you produce plastic bottle, or use plastic bottles in your bottling environment. Yeah, that use less plastic." Yeah, we are talking about the business case in improved machinery, improved products. We are not so talking about, yes, we are the great AI companies. And I think that's a different kind of communication. And I think if you're going out there, there are a lot of these mid-sized companies who are very active in this field. And I'm also working as a professor. Yeah, I see a lot of young people who are doing their final thesis also in collaboration with mid-sized companies that nobody knows of. Yeah. But they are creating immensely creative solutions for processes and their products. And I'm always enthusiastic of the breadth of this wave which is coming. Again, we are specifically here in Germany, we are not so outspoken. Yeah, we are the greatest AI companies. We just do it. Yeah, but we are doing it in a very I don't want to say controlled way. That also gives a wrong. Yeah, we are doing it probably smartly.
I mean, you touched upon the issue that you're also a professor.
Yes.
And now maybe we come to the end of our conversation. And if you put yourself into the situation, you have your first seminar with your students. Yeah, you're standing in front of them, and you want to start the seminar maybe with giving them a short outlook concerning what is the future of enterprises with AI. What would you tell them?
I don't know. I mean, the students that I'm seeing, they are and it's across all areas. Yeah, I'm not only. I'm in an IT-like department, and of course, people who are studying there, of course, they know that AI is the new big thing. Yeah, so everyone. But I'm also teaching students from either legal sector, psychology, business administration, of course. Yeah, any student knows that AI is the next big thing, and they are really enthusiastic to find out how their own areas of work will be affected. And this has nothing to do with, oh, they fear they don't get a job. No, they want to see, how can I contribute? And I think that's the attitude that I also want to instill in companies. We can do it, yeah, and we should do it, and it's possible to do it. Probably, let me talk a little bit, coming back to the companies, going away from universities. Yeah, let's keep one more thing to universities. I think I talked about our education system in Europe and specifically in Germany, and I think every university, be it public or private, has a significant number of courses in AI-related topics. Yeah, so the education machinery is already running. We will be throwing out a lot of people with AI capabilities. But this is not enough. And coming back to the companies and what I would say to a CEO, yeah, when I'm going to a CEO and ask, and I'm coming back again, back is probably the frame to what we started with. We need to make sure that the people in our company also understand what AI is and how AI can help. Yeah, because it's not only about the transformation and reducing fears, it's also trying to help them spark ideas about how to use AI in the work environment they can. And therefore, I think, of course, you need to, I mean, the new hires that you are getting, they probably all have some more or less knowledge of AI topics, depending on their faculty. But I think it's as much as important to train people in the organization around AI. Yeah, so we like to say lifelong learning. Yeah, so that is always something that that's yeah, it's probably more like a thing. But I think it's true, and AI will be an important topic for everyone in the company to learn. And I think the biggest danger that we can make with here these AI topics, introducing them to a company, is if we are, you remember probably there was a time in the probably early 2000s, yeah, where we had innovation labs. Yeah, so traditional companies said, oh, there's no innovation coming from the inside. Yeah, we are creating a creative space far away from our production site so that they are not say constrained by all the old boring people. Yeah, so they can be innovative as possible. Yeah, what happens? The innovation labs produced innovations, or what they thought could be innovations, yeah, but they had no track with these innovations in the mother companies, yeah, which was useless. And then the innovators in this lab said, yeah, it's useless, yeah, we're providing many interesting ideas, but they are not being taken up. So we leave the innovation lab, yeah. So we invested a lot of money, and I think this was the wrong way. And that's why I would always recommend, yes, we need these innovation cells, but we need them in the company. And we need to make sure that we, specifically with this AI topic, which is everywhere, yeah, we get the knowledge to the into the work base, yeah, so that everyone knows, yeah, again, related to their level of work, how it can be useful. Yeah, and that is also why we see in the education sector that many companies are also trying to not only hire from universities, which are doing, I mean, we are doing more or less generic work, but there is also a sector, and I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, we are building education programs that are tailored to the kind of AI abilities or capabilities that are required to bring the specific company forward. So not generic stuff, but more tailored to certain business areas or to certain business functions. Yeah, and I think that's something where you, as a business leader, you can accelerate. So in line with where are the use cases that we discussed in the beginning, yeah, what kind of people do I need? And I do need people who understand my business to be able to move these ideas forward. Yeah, and of course they also need to know about AI, but we have a lot of people in our organizations that have that are not so far away with their current capabilities from what they need to develop AI solutions. look at database administrators or database engineers. Yeah, we call them data engineers today. Yeah, or you have IT people who can help program these IT solutions. Yeah, or we have business analysts who know how they did decision making rule based in the past. All these people have sufficient base knowledge to be trained to the next level, and I think that's the important point. We all need to do it.
So what I understand is, first of all, that AI needs to be tailored to the needs of a company to benefit the company most, and also that you train your people, yeah, so that they are part of this transition of the company in the context of the integration of AI, using more AI and benefiting from AI. Yeah? And I think that is, for both, I think, a very positive message. I mean, for the company, yeah, who wants to make more business, become more profitable, and for the employees, because they can grow. And AI is a tool for them and not something which replaces them. Yeah. So I think we have many positive messages today. Yeah. Thank you very much, Michael, for this conversation. I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot. Yeah. And I hope it was also very interesting for this audience. Yeah. And I wish you a good continuation of this day. Thank you.
Thank you.